Still everyone, welcome back to Echoes from the Temple. Before I get into today's video, I wanted to ask everyone here watching or listening to this video to comment below any questions that you may have for the author, Monty Plaisance. As some of you may remember from other videos recently, we're planning on recording an interview to discuss some upcoming projects that he's working on and the re-release of his book, Scrolls of Manetho. But moving on, in this video I want to discuss something that I find to be very important and believe is often misunderstood in our modern worldview. That is the gods being immortal, good, and not subject to the behaviors depicted within their myths. In the past, I've had people attempt to tell me that the gods are not immortal and believe that the gods act as they do within their myths. Now, if that is what you believe, why worship the gods to begin with? Let me know in the comments below, but I digress. So grab yourself a drink and let's get into this. Now, to make my argument on this, I'm going to again turn to the work of Sallustius on the gods in the world, specifically in chapter 7 on the nature and eternity of the cosmos. Sallustius tells us that the world should be indestructible and uncreated. I quote, "Indestructible, for if it is destroyed, it must either produce one better or one worse, on the same or a disordered chaos. But if by destruction it becomes worse, its artificer must be evil, who thus changes it from better to worse. But if it becomes better, its artificer must be defective in power, because he did not fabricate it better in the first place." End quote. Alright, this alone can be a lot to unpack, so let's try to break this down. So what Sallustius is telling us is that if the world is subject to corruption and capable of becoming better or worse, then the creator of the cosmos is either evil or lacks in power. If the world is subject to destruction, leading to it becoming worse, then the creator of the cosmos must be evil for allowing such a thing to occur. Likewise, if the world was destroyed and led to a better world, then Sallustius tells us the creator of the cosmos must lack power and ability for not having constructed the world better to start. Now, where he mentions the destruction of the world leading to chaos, he claims that it is impious to even entertain or ponder such a notion. Okay, continuing chapter 7, I quote, "From all this, it is sufficiently evident that the world is uncreated, for if it be incapable of destruction, it is uncreated, since everything which is created is subject to destruction. We may likewise add that since the world exists through the goodness of divinity, it is necessary that divinity should always be good, and the world perpetually endure. Just in the same manner as light is coexistent with the sun and fire, and the shadow with its forming body." End quote. So in this, Sallustius explains that everything in this world that has been created is therefore subject to being destroyed, and thus is the reasoning behind concluding that the world itself is uncreated. Now, the idea that the world exists out of the goodness of the divine implies that the creation and maintenance are tied to a gracious, benevolent, and eternal force. Just as what we create within the physical realm is subject to destruction, this force must reside outside of the physical world. Sallustius explains that just as light is dependent upon the sun, fire, or source to exist, the world itself is dependent on the continuous benevolence and sustaining power of the divine. I think it's important to explain the concept of divinity in this work as well. Divinity, as explained here, corresponds to the eternal source of all creation. This eternal source ensures that the existence and functioning of the world will continue. In Platonic theology, this source would be referred to as Tuina, or the One, and is outside of our understanding while we reside within the physical world. So concluding that the world exists and carries on due to the goodness of a divine source also implies to us that there is a purpose and order to the cosmos. If the world itself exists and is not subject to destruction due to divine goodness, then its continued existence implies that it serves a higher purpose or contributes to a greater order within the cosmos itself. Now I think it is also necessary to explain this divine source, the One, or Ta'ina, at least as far as we can. An explanation of the One can be found in Chapter 5 of On the Gods in the World. I strongly suggest that anyone wanting to understand the gods the way that many ancient Greeks did, read and understand the work of Sallustius, at least to start. So to gain some type of understanding of the One, we can look toward mathematics. When looking at numbers, we know that the number 1 comes before any other number. When we examine any other number that comes after 1, we can see that it is simply multiples of the number 1. When we apply this to our discussion, we see that the One permeates all of existence, regardless of how disconnected we may feel. To put this in an analogy, we can look to the sun. The sun is singular in our sky, but its light permeates all and illuminates the world around us. After having discussed how the gods are eternal and good, and the source of all permeates all of existence and is also good, where does evil come from? We can all look around us in this crazy world we live in and see that there are some truly evil people, right? Well, Sallustius gives an explanation to this in Chapter 12. With everything else having been discussed, it is not possible that evil exists within the world, at least not naturally. As we've discussed already, the One is good and permeates outward. The gods, being of a higher spiritual nature, partake of a greater portion of this divine source, and we have also stated them to be inherently good. But when we look toward the natural world, we see opposites, such as day and night, which we see every day. Nighttime is simply the absence of the sun. And if we apply this to our discussion, evil is the absence of good. Therefore, there isn't a nature of evil, but what is produced by the absence of good, just as darkness is nothing but the absence of light. Confused yet? Let's continue. Oftentimes on the discussion of evil, the topic of demons come up. Now to start this, we need to clarify that the word demon is derived from the word daemon, which simply means spirit. Sallustius tells us that if we were to perceive daemons as evil, then it is not possible for them to have derived their power from the gods. Which, if daemons derive their power from somewhere else, then it is not possible for the gods to be the creators. By acknowledging the gods as the creators and authors of all things, then the existence of evil within daemons would contradict this. But rather, it is within the actions and energies of human beings that evil arises. Now, not all actions or energies are evil, nor are they always evil. Some individuals may perceive specific actions as evil, however, yet still derive some pleasure from it, considering the pleasure to be good. Sallustius gives the example of someone committing adultery, perceiving the act itself as evil, but yet view the pleasure derived from the act as good. Understanding that there is a divine order to everything within the cosmos allows us to see that evil arises when something is out of its place, because it is removed from the good. Now, when we alienate ourselves from the good, through our actions, our souls become inverted, therefore out of place, allowing evil to arise. This may lead one to a state of ritual impurity called miasma, which I made an entire video on and will link to here. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so someone else may as well. Don't forget, if you have any questions you would like to ask Monty Plaisance in our pending interview, drop them in the comments below. If this video raises more questions for you that you would like answered, drop them in the comments below as well. As always, you may find my website and social links in the description below, and until next time, may the gods bless you.